In section 3, we talked a little bit about the 3 critical success factors of management, market, and money. I want to dig a little bit more into what I mean when I say market. Basically, is there a market for your small business or your idea for a small business? And how do we determine whether there is or not? First of all, can you sell the product or service that you propose to provide, and can you sell it at a profit? Who's going to buy it? Remember that if you can't make a profit, you can't stay in business for very long. This is a pretty big challenge for most new startup businesses that I work with, and I think there's a good reason for it. This is America, right? It's the land of the free and the home of the brave, and I think that entrepreneurship is a pretty big part of our culture. If you think back to the pioneer days, basically everybody was an entrepreneur. You had some kind of a job or a skill that you turned into your profession. You made saddles, you put shoes on horses, you were a blacksmith. And I think that that is pretty ingrained in our culture. And so as a result, I think a lot of times when you think about starting a business and you talk to your friends and relatives, you get this sort of universal approval, and it's an uncritical approval. You say, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business. What are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to clean sewage grates. Hey, that's the best idea I've ever heard. And people start patting you on the back, and they say, man, I'm going to be your first customer. I'm going to be your biggest customer. I'm going to be your best customer. I'm going to spend all my money with you. And people tend to listen to their friend Ralph or their Uncle Bob or their Aunt Susie. And they kind of convince themselves a lot of times that there's more of a market than there really is for a small business. Again, because it's part of the American dream, nobody wants to discourage you. You know what? I don't want to discourage you either. But I think it's really important to understand the difference between evidence on the one hand and anecdote on the other hand. If you tell a whole bunch of people that you're thinking about starting a business, and they indicate that maybe they'd be big customers of the business, or maybe they like the idea a lot, I would put that in the anecdote category. But if we end up working together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to move you in the direction of seeking real evidence that there is a market for your small business startup. Just as an example, I have worked with chiropractors before. One came into my office and he said, Will, the American Chiropractic Trade Association says that in general it takes about 5,000 people in the population to support one full-time chiropractor. So I got out the Lawrence phone book and I counted 15 full-time chiropractors. A population of 75,000 would easily be able to support 15. But the thing is, Lawrence has 90,000 people. So there should be room, Will, for about 3 more chiropractors here, according to the information that I'm getting from the chiropractic trade associations. That is an example, in my opinion, of using some evidence. That's actually a pretty good way to look at the potential market that your small business might or might not have. So if Uncle Ralph says it's a good idea is here, analyzing some trade group association statistics might be here, there is yet a few more steps that you could take. You may or may not be aware of what really big businesses, really market savvy businesses like, say, McDonald's do when they're looking at new locations. They do what's called a ring study. And in the old days, ring studies would just have concentric circles, 1, 3, and 5 miles. They would analyze the population in that area. They would run some kind of a regression analysis, and they might look at the important factors that would drive revenues in a McDonald's. Maybe it's population density, maybe it's income, maybe it's education level, maybe it's number of senior citizens per household, maybe it's number of children per household. I'm not really sure what it would be for McDonald's, but I'm sure that McDonald's could tell you what those most important factors are in their demographic analysis, in their regression analysis, and they could look at the ring study, look at the population in these rings, and do a pretty good job of estimating what the revenue might be for a McDonald's franchise at a certain location. Chances are, with your small business or your startup idea, you're not going to be quite as sophisticated as a McDonald's might be. If you work with a KSBDC consultant, we do have access to some pretty good market analysis tools, business analyst online research, and a lot of other things that might help you use statistical evidence to really understand the nature of the market for your business. And I think that's the main point here. If you work with a KSBDC consultant, we're going to steer you away from using anecdotes like Uncle Ralph said this was the best small business idea he ever heard, and towards using some kind of a statistical way of looking at the market for your business. So that's a little bit about the critical success factor of market. Next, we're going to talk about money.